Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Jessica Ward King, the StigmaCrusher here. So everybody knows kind of the basic symptoms of depression, right? There's the depressed mood most of the time, almost all the time. There's the feelings of hopelessness, feelings of guilt, feelings of worthlessness. There's suicidal thoughts and ideation. There's the sleep disturbance. Everybody's heard about, the sleepless nights that accompany depression, or sometimes even the oversleeping, you can't get out of bed kind of syndrome. So it's that sleep disturbance that accompanies depression. So these are some kind of really common symptoms that we hear about with depression. But there are some symptoms that are a little bit less common that you might not hear about, or you might not hear about so often at least. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about 5 symptoms of depression that maybe aren't so common. And the first one is difficulty concentrating. It seems like depression is a mood disorder, right? We call it a mood disorder. Everybody thinks of it as the disorder of sadness, that, it's the disorder that makes you sad. And we talk about, its effects on mood, and that, really that's all it is. But depression is so much more than that. And we're going to see that today. And one of the things that depression can do is that it can really wreak havoc on your neurocognitive system. It can affect your memory, your attention, your ability to make decisions, and, it can affect really all of those parts of your brain that make you the thinker that you are. And we're not exactly sure how it does this. Some theories have something to do with neurotransmitters, or your brain is bathed in neurotransmitters. And while some theories about the way depression works on your mood have something to do with neurotransmitters, it stands to reason that those neurotransmitters that are, therefore affecting your mood are also affecting other ways that your brain works, which would be, your neurocognitive system, your memory and your attention and your decision making and all that kind of stuff. But it could also be that it's affecting the structures in your brain. There's actually a kind of disorder that's known as, and let me get this right, it's known as pseudodementia. And it is when a psychiatric disorder like depression actually mimics a disorder like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, or something like that. So a dementia. And now it is actually reversible. So all of these changes that you see with depression, even if it's something as extreme as pseudodementia, these changes are usually reversible. So when you have these changes in decision making, these changes in ability to remember, these changes in attention that come with depression, when the depression resolves, then those changes should go back to normal. So you should get your cognitive ability back, which is the good news. The bad news is that while you are depressed, there's no telling how long they're going to last. And so I know for myself, when I get severely depressed, I will often lose the ability to read and retain information, which is really detrimental to my job. And so when that happens, I will lose the ability to literally do what I'm supposed to be doing, and it can be really detrimental. And so I don't want to get to that point, right? And a lot of people find that that's really, really difficult with their depression as well, is when their cognitive ability, it's one thing if your mood goes south, But when your actual like cognitive abilities go south, like, what is that? And it's a thing that people don't know can happen. So that is number one. Number two is irritability. Now, people again think sadness for depression. They don't often think irritability, but irritability is something that can happen with depression. And my family has seen this from me as well, where, you just get, sometimes there can be a couple of different reasons for this. So sometimes you can just get explosive outbursts of emotion, whether that is explosive outbursts of crying for no reason or with little provocation, or explosive outbursts of anger, or explosive outbursts of whatever the emotion is. You can just get this kind of extreme emotional lability, they call it. And that can happen with depression sometimes. But sometimes it's really specifically irritability. And a few explanations for this. One of them, we do see this more in men. And so one of the explanations for this is that there seems to be a kind of cultural explanation for why this would be, that there's more of a acceptability to women being sad and crying, and more acceptability to men being mad and raging. And in the North American culture context in which I live, that tracks. Now, you don't see it all the time, for sure. You don't see a bunch of like raging, depressed men. It's not the norm. It's a lesser known kind of symptom of depression. But when it does happen, it does tend to happen more in men. So that could be one of the explanations. Another explanation, there could be a biological reason for this. Kind of a neurological reason, something in the brain that predisposes more men to this reaction than women. You do see it in women, though, too. And so, kind of the jury's out as to why specifically this happens. But irritability does happen in depression. Interestingly, it happens often in children and adolescents. And they actually modify the criteria, the diagnostic criteria for children and adolescents to say that it's not only sad mood most of the time, it's also sad or irritable mood. Because children and adolescents quite often present with irritability instead of sadness. So that's something that's interesting to note. So irritability is something that often, lesser known, but that can present with depression. Aches and pains. Now, if I had a dime for every time I was told that my migraines, women's problems, back pain, you name it, was just due to my depression, I would be rich. Because aches and pains can be due to depression. And I think a lot of people think that it's just being passed off as that it's just all in your head, is just kind of something that the doctors are telling you. But it literally can. And it seems to happen, so it's like psychic ache can manifest as physical ache. And what will often happen is they'll do the workup and there's no underlying physical cause for said ache. It just hurts. And when the depression lifts, the physical ache lifts. Physical pain, I shouldn't just say ache, physical pain lifts. And you kind of, you know that's it, because when the depression lifts, the physical pain lifts. It's, you kind of, it's not it. It's when the depression lifts and the physical pain continues, and you're like, see, it wasn't it. But it's often a long time to wait to say, see, I told you so, doc. So this is a difficult one to swallow, when you are already in the throes of a depression and now your body is aching to boot, and you want something to be wrong that is explainable. You want something to be wrong that they can fix, that they can give you, I don't know, a pill or a physio prescription or a splint or something to fix. And like the physical body seems like a good candidate because like everybody knows the mind, we're not there yet, but the physical body, if that's aching, surely they can do something for that. And then you go and they tell you, oh, that's because of your depression, and you're just like, tear my hair out. This is a difficult one. And yet evidence shows that yes, you can have physical pain that is due to your depression. I know. I don't like it either. The reasons for this, again, we're not sure, but we do know that pain is modulated by the same kinds of neurotransmitters as depression is thought to be modulated by, so serotonin, norepinephrine. And so if indeed that serotonin, norepinephrine type system is out of whack and not working right in the brain, then chances are that, you know, it would be not working right in the part of the brain that is getting the signals from your body to say that you're in pain. That's kind of the thinking. It's a theory. It's not proven. There's research to support. There's research in other directions, but that's one of the theories. So neurotransmitters that are useful in explaining both types of systems. Constipation. Did she go there? Yes, she did. Yes, constipation is another little known symptom of depression. And it is like emblematic of this gut-brain axis that I have talked about before. We know that the brain is affected by the gut and vice versa. We know that there are the same neurotransmitters affecting the gut as are affecting the brain and known to be or thought to be active in depression. So serotonin, norepinephrine, even dopamine. So there are lots of linkages there. We know that the bacteria that are in the gut affect the brain. We know that those linkages from the brain down to the gut are constantly active and giving feedback loops. So, I mean, there is a strong case that mental illness is affected by the gut. And this is just one more piece in the puzzle, right? So the fact that constipation, but also things like indigestion, right? Poor appetite, sometimes overeating, over appetite, which is unfortunately what I suffered from with my early depression. All of these symptoms that have to do with eating and with feeding and with the gut and relate to depression, they all feed into this hypothesis. But kind of even on a more basic level, if you just think about it. So one of the more fundamental symptoms of depression is a poor appetite. Now, as I said, I had overeating. That's less common. And what's more common is that people don't want to eat. They don't want to eat. They often don't want to drink either. They kind of shy away from putting things in their mouth in general. And so you will find then that if that's the case, you're not taking in enough nutrients and you're not taking in critically enough water. And that is going to cause constipation as well. So just the symptoms of depression itself are going to cause this symptom of depression. But I think it's kind of at a deeper level than that. It's rooted in that gut-brain axis. But you will find that your bowel movements and your general gut health will change when a depressive episode starts. I always notice that whenever my mood changes, whenever I change, well, not my mood changes, whenever my mood state changes, let's put it that way, I'll notice that my general gut health, let's put it that way to not get too graphic, shall we? My general gut health will change. I will notice a change. I really am convinced that it's because of this connection to from my brain to my gut. The last one is anhedonia. Now, this one isn't a not well-known symptom. It's actually one of the cardinal symptoms of depression, along with having a low mood most of the time, or almost every day, most of the day. I said that backwards, but we'll go with it. Anhedonia is the other cardinal symptom, which is basically does not enjoy activities that one used to enjoy. And this is, so it's not a not well-known symptom. I kind of cheated here, but it's not a well-known word. And so I wanted to make sure that I included it because it's really important that we recognize it for what it is. Anhedonia is so important as a symptom of depression because it really robs you of your life. I know for me, not wanting to do the things that I normally enjoy doing is what makes my life so unbearable when I'm depressed. It's like even now, it's what I find myself kind of wandering from room to room rather than, setting down and doing anything. I can't sit down and play with my son. I can't sit down and make jewelry a hobby of mine. I can't sit down and read because these are all things that I usually enjoy, but I'm just, nothing sounds appealing. It's kind of like being at a smorgasbord and absolutely nothing looks good. And so you kind of walk along this long table full of wonderful looking food with your plate in your hand, and you just kind of can't even think to pick at anything because just nothing looks good. And maybe you make yourself take something and put it on your plate, but then you go back to your table and you just pick at it with your fork because you don't want it. And that's what it seems like with anhedonia. I can even sit down with the book, so take it and put it on my plate. Sit down with the book and sit there and make my eyes go over the page and make myself do it. But it's not enjoyable. And so it's really critical to recognize that one, so that it's not just sadness that depression is. It's not just making your mood blue, or making you cry all the time, or making you feel guilty. It's actually robbing you of the things that you like to do, robbing you of the things that you should be doing. And I think that's one that people don't talk about very often. It's maybe not one they don't know about, but it's not one that they talk about very often. And I think it's one that we need to talk about a lot more. So, anhedonia. don't forget the name. But really what it means is not being able to enjoy the things you used to enjoy. Okay, everyone, so that was my list of the 5 symptoms of depression that are maybe a little bit lesser known. I hope you enjoyed my list. I'm wondering what's on your list. What are the symptoms of depression maybe that you've experienced or you've seen in your life that you think are lesser known? Put them in the comments down below. I'd love to hear about them. And as always, I will see you in my next one. Take care of yourselves this week. Bye.
StigmaCrusher.